In today's video, I wanted to finish up my journey through the Companion's questline featured in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Last time, I approached the halls of Jorrvaskr and asked to join the faction. It was through that I met with the guild's main members, Kodlak, Vilkas, Ayla, Farkas, and Skjor. After running some menial tasks for the guild, I was soon called upon for a greater quest. Together with Farkas, I stormed the dungeon of Dustman's Cairn and retrieved a fragment of Wuuthrad. However, it was during that raid where the faction's big secret was revealed to me. Everyone in the inner circle is cursed with lycanthropy. Some embrace it, while others despise it. Eventually, I too received the gift of beast blood, and while out on a hunting trip with Skjor and Ayla, Skjor ended up perishing in battle. This caused Ayla to seek retaliation against the Silver Hand. Through her, I went on a mission to steal the group's stratagem. This is where the story continues. With 3 possible options for quest givers, I decided to approach Vilkas to see what he had in store.
We've received a desperate missive. A citizen of Whiterun has been kidnapped. The companions have been asked for assistance, and we shall answer, particularly when the pay is as good as this. Get moving. I shudder to think what might happen if you're too late.
This brings on the quest, Rescue Mission, another Radiant and filler task. However, I found this one to be quite interesting. Technically, it didn't have much to do with the Companion's quest, as it was more so a localized event. My goal was to rescue Idolaf Battleborn from Randvig's Fast, a dungeon I had never been to before. Popping open the world map, the Fast is located west of Dustman's Cairn. The trek there was more eventful than I would have liked. Saber-toothed cats, Thalmor justiciars, bandits, giants, mammoths, and even a death on my part. Soon though, I made it to the Fast and the real crawl had begun. The exterior was guarded by subjugated ghosts. There's always something quite saddening when having to face them. The remorse and pleas for forgiveness really tug on the heartstrings. Fortunately, their spirits get released after they're defeated. At least, I hope that's the case. The crawl through the interior was rather brief. A couple more ghosts, and soon I found myself at the back of a big room. A word wall and a boss level chest could only mean that I finished the mission, right? Well, following the quest arrow a little too closely, I fell right into the warlock's trap. Tripping a trapdoor and falling to the pits below, I found myself in some sort of cage. On the other side was a wounded Idolaf, as well as a man I had never seen before. His name was Sild the Warlock, and he was overjoyed that his plan had worked. He talks about his dead assistant, and then quickly takes his leave. He begins looking for some sort of vice to torture me with, and it's evident that the clock is ticking. The only way out of the cage is through the gate, but it's secured with an expert level lock. I was fortunate in that I had plenty of lockpicks on me. But if he didn't, Sild's dead assistant has just 1 in his inventory, so better make it count. After some time, if you let Sild finish his search, he comes back and starts firing off destruction spells. Obviously, unless you have spells to shoot back at him, that's probably it for you. Once I was freed, I charged straight for the Warlock and hacked away. Up close, he couldn't do all that much, and soon Idolaf and I were free to escape the Fast. Before leaving, I wanted to read Sild's journal. Because it's not related to the Companions, nor is it that vast, I'll sum it up. But basically, it just talks about his trials and tribulations with capturing live prisoners. Most adventurers die on impact, even with the water below. He talks about how one broke both their legs and arms, then drowned shortly after. Sild also talks about how he convinced an orc to hold his breath as long as he could, which also resulted in that adventurer drowning. His motives seem purely malicious, as he wanted to break their minds before breaking their bodies. Well, good riddance then. Once Idolaf and I were free, we encountered something I had never seen before in Skyrim. A scared hunter ran over to us. He said he had been attacked by a vampire and needed a cure disease potion as fast as possible. Out of pure curiosity, I replied with, "No way, buddy," and he darted off to the nearest town. There's always something new and surprising with this game. I'm hoping I run into him again one day, and I also kind of hope that he's a vampire. Fast traveling over to Whiterun, Idolaf thanked me for the rescue, and I was clear to return to Jorrvaskr.
So I hear. You brought honor to the companions and yourself.
Certainly a fun little mission. With that, thus ends the quest, Rescue Mission. Returning to Vilcus, I asked him if there was more work. He mentioned that Ayla wanted to see me, and I knew exactly why. She must have gotten some other lead on the Silver Hand. Descending to the living quarters, I was looking up and down for her when instead I ran into Kodlak. Checking in with him, this is where the story really developed.
I've been looking for you. Yes, youngling. Have a seat. I hear you've been busy of late. Your hearts are full of grief, and my own weeps at the loss of Skjor. But his death was avenged long ago. You have taken more lives than honor demanded. The cycle of retaliation may continue for some time. In any case, I have a task for you. Have you heard the story of how we came to be werewolves? Aye, that sounds like him. As in all matters of faith, though, the reality is more complicated than one believer would tell you. The companions are nearly 5,000 years old. This matter of beast blood has only troubled us for a few hundred. One of my predecessors was a good but short-sighted man. He made a bargain with the witches of Glenmoral Coven. If the companions would hunt in the name of their lord Hirsine, we would be granted great power. They did not believe the change would be permanent. The witches offered payment, like anyone else. But we had been deceived. The witches didn't lie, of course, but it's more than our bodies. The disease, you see, affects not just our bodies, it seeps into the spirit. Upon death, werewolves are claimed by Hirsine for his hunting grounds. For some, this is a paradise. They want nothing more than to chase prey with their master for eternity. And that is their choice. But I am still a true Nord, and I wish for Sovngarde as my spirit home. That's what I've spent my twilight years trying to find out. And now I've found the answer. The witches' magic ensnared us, and only their magic can release us. They won't give it willingly, but we can extract their foul powers by force. I want you to seek them out. Go to their coven in the wilderness. Strike them down as a true warrior of the wild. And bring me their heads, the seat of their abilities. From there, we may begin to undo centuries of impurity. You shall have no shield, brother, this time. But the spirit of Ysgramor goes with you to restore the honor of his legacy. Talos guide you, lad.
So it seems like there's a chance for Kodlak to know true peace. If that's the case, then maybe the others, including myself, can take the cure as well. Before heading out, I paid a visit to Jorland and asked him about a new weapon. It appears as though the Dragonborn is granted at least one free item from the Master Smith himself. Snagging the Skyforged steel battle axe, upgrading, then enchanting it, I was ready to slay some witches. Maybe it was because of my gear upgrade, or perhaps it was for other reasons, but I found the Glenmoral witches to be rather easy opponents. Charging in with my axe and Lydia by my side, we were able to shred through the witches in no time. It's completely optional to take out all of them, as only one head is needed for the quest, but I just decided to go for it anyways. It's neat how the witches play a role in the big three games, Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim. Clearly, Skyrim places them as more feral and violent beings, whereas Oblivion puts them as glorified alchemists, and Morrowind is somewhere in between, but probably closer to the tamer NPCs we see in Oblivion. Normally, the player works with them to cure some sort of disease, and in Morrowind, the cure for lycanthropy was quite different. A couple of rare flower petals, an innocent person sacrificed, defeating your wolf avatar, all the normal things required for a cure. Once all the witches were beheaded, I was ready to return to Whiterun. However, I never would have imagined this is what things were going to turn to. Crowds gathered outside of Jorrvaskr. Torvar and Ayla had armed themselves and were standing over some dead bodies. It appears as though the Silver Hand had finally attacked the Guildhall. Heading on inside, the carnage was far worse than I had thought.
Where have you been? I hope it was important, because it means you weren't here to defend him. The Silver Hand. They finally found enough courage to attack Jorvaskr. We fought them off, but the old man, Kodlak, he's dead. No, but they made off with all our fragments of Wuuthrad. But you and I are going to reclaim them. We will bring the battle to their chief camp. There will be none left living to tell their stories. Only songs of Jorvaskr will be sung. We will avenge Kodlak, and they will know terror before the end.
Kodlak Whitemane, the humble and bright harbinger of the companions, has fallen. What's more, this was right before we could get a cure going, meaning his soul has been sent to Hircine's hunting grounds. With that, thus ends the quest, Blood's Honor. If there was ever to be a bright side for a situation like this, it's that the Silverhand members all had some decent pocket change on them. Kodlak might be dead, but I'm at least 100 gold richer. Feeling good and feeling ready, I left the guild hall and popped open the map. Driftshade Refuge, the location for this quest, was southwest of Hobbs Fall Cave. A short ride over, and I had already found myself starting off the battle. Taking out a few members around the exterior, Vilkas and I moved to the inside. The crawl was honestly pretty easy. If anything, I had my new weapon to thank for that. It was likely also because I wasn't trying to work on any of my lesser skills. Most of these Silverhand members fell with a couple of swings. Of course, there were a couple of stragglers who needed a little more elbow grease to take down, but with Vilkas by my side, we had things under control. The refuge led us all around the keep. We meandered through the cellar, the kitchen area, ran into werewolves, both dead and alive, then out into a frozen barrow underneath the mountains. The Silverhand's numbers began to dwindle, and while it was completely optional to exterminate them, I was pretty much forced into it, as they were all heavily guarding the fragments of Wuuthrad. While the UESP says that the Silverhand is eradicated for good, I never got the chance to see if that was true. I'm unsure if they're involved in more raiding quests, so for now, I take that statement with a grain of salt. Once the group was defeated and the loot was taken, I collected the pieces of Ysgramor's axe. From here, it was time to return to Jorvaskr. Fast traveling to Dragon's Reach, Vilkas informed me that there was going to be a funeral for Kodlak at the Skyforge. With that, thus ends the quest, Purity of Revenge. Following Vilkas up to the Skyforge, the funeral was just about ready to begin.
Who will start?
I'll do it. Before the ancient flame.
We grieve.
We grieve.
Grave.
At this loss,
We
weep.
We weep. For the fallen,
We shout.
shout.
And for ourselves.
We take our
Take
leave.
our
leave.
leave. His spirit is departed. Members of the Circle, let us withdraw to the Underforge to grieve our last together.
Do you have the fragments of Wuuthrad still? I'll need to prepare them for mounting again. Don't get too flowery on me, lad. Of course, I have a small favor to ask of you. There's another piece that Kodlak always kept close to himself. Would you go to his chambers and bring it back for me? I'm not sure I'm the best one to go through his things. Thank you. I'll be here.
There was definitely a nice send-off for a harbinger such as Kodlak. What the faction will do now and who will lead it, or advise it, is unknown. Now, the circle only consists of Vilkas, Farkas, myself, and Ayla. As it stands, who knows if anyone else will get added to the companion's highest ranks, and it doesn't seem like the beast blood is on the table anymore. Accessing Kodlak's end table, I found the final fragment of Wuuthrad. However, I also came across something else. It seems as though Whitemane left behind a journal. While it's a somewhat lengthy read, it's actually quite fascinating, and it makes mention of the player. In my dream, I see the line of harbingers start with Ysgramor. Each of them ascends to Sovngarde until we come to Terfig, who first turned us to the ways of the beast. He tries to enter Sovngarde, but before he can approach Sun, he is set upon by a great wolf who pulls him into the hunting grounds, where Hircine laughs with welcoming arms. Terfig seems regretful, but also eager to join Hircine after a lifetime of service as a beast. Then I see every next harbinger turn away from Sovngarde and enter the hunting grounds of their own accord, until it comes to me, and I see Great Sun on the misty horizon, beckoning me. It appears I have a choice, and then, at my side, a stranger I had not seen before. As I look into his eyes, we turn to see the same wolf who dragged away Terfig, and him and I draw weapons together. I realize this is only a dream, but a strong enough dream to inspire a man like me to take to writing, so it must be of some import. I've spoken of my thoughts to the circle, withholding the part about the stranger, lest Skjor worry I will no longer seek his counsel, and I was not surprised to see them torn by it. Skjor and Ayla are strong in the ways of the beast, and even seem to suggest that the hunting grounds would be their choice of afterlife, if it were truly a choice. Vilkas seemed most troubled. The boy is as fierce as a saber cat in battle, but his heart's fire burns too brightly at times. He felt deceived, and I don't blame him. Farkas didn't know what to think, but I believe he will come around with me and his brother eventually. He usually does. I don't know what to do about Skjor and Ayla. I know they respect the companions, and me, but they take to the blood more deeply than the rest of us. Fortune smiles upon us. Yesterday, Vilkas was telling me how difficult it had been for him to give up his transformations. Until we can pursue a true cure, the twins and I have chosen not to give in to the beast blood. For me, it's provided a clearer head, but Vilkas seems to be suffering a bit for it. Farkas seems completely untroubled. That boy continues to amaze with his fortitude. While Vilkas was confiding through the shadows of Jorrvaskr, I saw a newcomer approach, who wished to join our numbers. It was the stranger from my dream, the one who would stand with me against the beast. Vilkas began speaking obliquely, not wishing to air our problems in front of our guest, and I had to be doubly cautious to not reveal anything of our secrets to the newcomer, while also not revealing the details of my dream to Vilkas. I don't know how the politicians deal with these sorts of machinations daily. In any case, I've sent Vilkas to test the newcomer. We'll see if he is truly the great warrior I dreamt of. The newcomer, it seems, is made of decent stock. He calls himself Bard, and has already impressed some of the circle with his mettle. I still keep my own counsel on his place in my dream, for now. Let us see what kind of destiny he is carving before hitching to him. In the meanwhile, I look for ways of cleansing my blood. The writings and legends on the subject are sparse and contradictory. I don't wish to engage any wizardry on this matter, but I fear they may be the only ones who best know how to navigate these worlds of knowledge. It's apparent to me now that Terfig's choice to turn us was indeed a mistake. Magics and their ilk are not in keeping with the spirit of the companions. We face our problems directly, without the need of such trickery. I can only hope to guide us back to the true path of Ysgramor before the rot takes me. Bard continues to impress. I don't know yet where he will stand on the question of the blood, but the question cannot be presented yet. He does know that we carry the beast blood, and appears curious about it. Soon enough, I can explain our troubles, and hopefully see what role he will play. I'm amazed that Ayla thinks she can keep a secret among this drunken rabble, especially with the loss of Skjor. My heart aches. Emotions are fraying, and the walls of discretion are the first to fall. Apparently, she and Bard are waging their own separate war against the Silver Hand, in retaliation for Skjor's death. Their hearts are noble, but the course of vengeance is running hot, and I fear the counterstroke that may come if they do not rein in their fury. Bard shows valor, though even in this more underhanded time. We have not had cause to speak much, and that is something I deeply regret. I have high hopes for his destiny, as I realize that his appearance in my dream may indeed mark him as the harbinger to succeed me. I have received few dreams over the course of my life, but when they come, I have learned to trust them. I have also learned to trust the instincts of my heart, which tells me that Bard can carry the companion's legacy as truly as any residing in Jorrvaskr, especially with the loss of Skjor. Ayla is too solitary, Vilkas too fiery, and Farkas too kind-hearted. Only Bard stands as a true warrior who can keep a still mind amidst these burning hearts. I will not speak to him of any of this though. It is too much to burden another with. My hope is that he and I can keep counsel over the coming years, that I can impart the wisdom of the harbingers. All things in time. Firstly, I will seek his assistance in the matter of the witches of Glenmoral. It would appear that our path to the cure is not without some poetic justice for the tricksters who first cursed us. Whitemane certainly has a way with words. His journal explains why he was so inviting. He knew who I was before I even stepped foot in Jorvaskr. He knew that together, we'd be able to find a cure for the guild's lycanthropy. And unfortunately, it seems like mine and Ayla's actions are the reason for his death. I can only hope that he finds some sort of peace in the afterlife. Returning to Jorland, I presented him with the last fragment.
You're back. Thank you. Your shield siblings have withdrawn to the Underforge. I think they're waiting for you.
The old man had one wish before he died, and he didn't get it. It's as simple as that.
Being Moonborn is not so much of a curse as you might think, Vilkas.
That's fine for you, but he wanted to be clean. He wanted to meet Ysgramor and know the glories of Sovngarde, but all that was taken from him.
And you avenged him.
Kodlak did not care for vengeance.
No, Farkas, he didn't. And that's not what this is about. We should be honoring Kodlak, no matter our own thoughts on the blood.
You're right. It's what he wanted, and he deserved to have it.
Kodlak used to speak of a way to cleanse his soul, even in death. You know the legends of the tomb of Ysgramor.
There, the souls of the Harbingers will heed the call of Northern Steel. We can't even enter the tomb without Wuuthrad, and it's in pieces like it has been for 1,000 years.
And dragons were just stories, and the elves once ruled Skyrim. Just because something is, doesn't mean it must be. The blade is a weapon, a tool. Tools are meant to be broken and repaired.
Is that... Did you repair the blade?
This is the first time I've had all the pieces, thanks to our shield brother here. The flames of Hero can reforge the shattered. The flames of Kodlak shall fuel the rebirth of Wuuthrad, and now it will take you to meet him once more. As the one who bore the fragments, I think you should be the one to carry Wuuthrad into battle. The rest of you, prepare to journey to the tomb of Ysgramor, for Kodlak.
I guess we really know who runs the show around here. Greymane the Smith might have more sway than he lets on. As a raw axe, Wuuthrad puts itself as my strongest weapon. Its effect is simple, and one that my Altmer should probably fear. It just says, especially deadly to elves. The axe's design is sleek and incredibly detailed. With the help of my 3 companions, rushing into Ysgramor's tomb should be no problem. Popping open the map, my desired location is far to the north. Traveling to Winterhold, the trek to the tomb was rather quick and uneventful. Vilkas, Farkas, and Ayla were already waiting for me inside.
This is the resting place of Ysgramor, and his most trusted generals. You should be cautious. Kodlak was right. I let vengeance rule my heart. I regret nothing of what we did at Driftshade. But I can't go any further with my mind fogged, or my heart grieved. The original companions, their finest warriors, rest with Ysgramor. You'll have to prove yourselves to them. It's not that you're intruding. I'd wager they've actually expected us. They just want to be sure that you're worthy. Be ready for an honorable battle. Return Wuuthrad to Ysgramor. It should open the way.
One follower has already dropped out, and trust me, there's more to come. Placing Wuuthrad in Ysgramor's hands, the hidden passage behind him opened up. Together, the 3 remaining companions charged on ahead. Vilkas was right about one thing. The ghosts of the companions past were waiting for us. They fought with axes, swords, shields, and bows. For some reason, the archers were able to inflict the most amount of damage. Their arrows pierced right through my armor and dropped my health by a great deal. Even after all of the nearby ghosts were defeated, I could still see red dots on my compass, and I heard the noises of frostbite spiders.
I can't go any further, Shield Brother. Ever since Dustman's Cairn, the big crawly ones have been too much for me. Everyone has his weakness, and this one is mine. I'm not proud, but I will stay back with Vilkas. Give my regards to Ysgramor.
With that, another follower has dropped out of the race. No matter though, as Ayla and I were still committed and willing. The next area saw us fighting, you guessed it, a whole bunch of frostbite spiders. Most of them were easy enough to beat, but there was one giant spider at the end. That one took a little more time and effort to vanquish, but the Huntress and I were able to make it work. Soon, we found ourselves back in the burial area, and we were once again battling ghosts. Honestly though, they were my preferred opponent, and you can never go wrong with listening to Michael Mack's lines. After fighting our way through a room filled with previous companions, we soon landed on the final chamber. At its center, I saw a bright blue flame. Just behind it was a familiar face. It was the spirit of Kodlak Whitemane.
Greetings, shield brother. Of course, my fellow Harbingers and I have been warming ourselves here, trying to evade hearsay. You see only me because your heart knows only me as the companion's leader. I'd wager old Vignar could see half a dozen of my predecessors. And I see them all. The ones in Sovngarde, the ones trapped with me in Hearse's realm. And they all see you. You've brought honor to the name of the companions. We won't soon forget it. Did he now? I can only hope. You still have the witches' heads. Excellent. Throw one of them into the fire. It will release their magic. For me, at least.
Turning my attention to the flame of the Harbinger, I interacted with it and placed the head on the fire. Moments later, I could see a great red wolf splitting from Kodlak's spirit. No doubt a symbol of the curse that plagued him. Soon, the spirit aggroed onto us, and Ayla and myself took turns swinging at it. Fortunately, it was a rather easy foe, and before long, the wolf spirit was vanquished.
And so slain the beast inside of me. I thank you for this gift. The other Harbingers remain trapped by hearsay. Perhaps from Sovngarde, the heroes of old can join me in their rescue. The harrowing of the hunting grounds. It would be a battle of such triumph. And perhaps someday you'll join us in that battle. But for today, return to your master. Triumph in your victory. And lead the companions to further glory.
Did I hear right? Did he say you were to lead the companions? You've earned the right. Your strength and honor are apparent to all. And it's my honor to be first to address you as Harbinger. Let's go tell the others.
Before moving on, I thought long and hard about my own future in spirit. While Sovngarde may or may not be in the cards, I've never actually cured my characters of their lycanthropy. I've always found there to be more pros than cons to being a werewolf, at least in Skyrim. However, there's always a first time for everything, and considering I have about 4 more witches' heads, might as well put them to use. Casting another crown into the flame of the Harbinger, Ayla and I took on my wolf spirit. Again, not a difficult fight, and before long, I was rid of the companion's quote-unquote blessing. With that, thus ends the quest, Glory of the Dead, and that officially wraps up all of the main quests for the companion storyline. From this point onward, everyone addresses my character as the Harbinger of the group. Ayla already gave me her blessing, and speaking with the twins, they seem a-okay with it as well. While I may be in charge, or rather the advisor of the guild, I still get access to all of the menial tasks and duties. There are still random people who need to get slugged for unknown reasons, and there are dungeons to clear out. However, there is a rather interesting Radiant quest that's only doable with Farkas and Vilkas. At some point during your time with the companions, they'll individually ask you to help them cure their lycanthropy. Given that I defeated all of the Glenmoral witches and took their heads, the task was rather simple. I'd assume though if you didn't have the extra heads, you'd have to go back to the cave and slay another Hagraven. The two brothers will be incredibly grateful, and they even express how much better they feel. Meanwhile, Ayla is still insistent that lycanthropy is a gift to the faction. She has no desire to cure her affliction, and she likely acts as a cornerstone for players who are in the same boat. With all of that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about this questline. Admittedly, it's been a while since I've played through the companion storyline. I remembered important details, but not everything. Something that apparently completely escaped me is the questline's length. In total, there are only 6 major quests for the faction. Furthermore, a couple of those are really simple and quite shallow. Take Up Arms serves as an intro to the guild and its characters. Blood's Honor shares some valuable lore, but the bulk of the action is as simple as slaying a singular Hagraven. Purity of Revenge doesn't have much dialogue attached to it, really at all, and it acts more like a tank and spank type of mission. I guess this is all a lengthy way of saying the companion's questline is short. I'm mentally prepared for a 2-day escapade, but the whole thing was done in a couple of hours. I suppose the bulk of the quests are meant to come from the Radiant missions, clearing dungeons, brawling innocent civilians, and taking on the Silver Hand. Again though, the issue is that there really isn't much story there. The player is sent off to random locations with the goal of doing random things. I've seen a lot of people compare the companion's questline to the Fighters Guild questline, although, in my opinion, it's hard to pin them against one another. Oblivion's story had almost 20 quests to it. Each quest has a meeting with different NPCs, exploring their backstories and getting caught up in their specific situations. By the end, the faction needs to make a big decision on what to do with the Blackwood Company. Meanwhile, The Companions is more so a story that deals with self-reflection as opposed to an external crisis. To me, it was all about Kodlak Whitemane. Kodlak, Vilkas, and Farkas don't want to be beasts anymore. They see lycanthropy as a rotten curse that's twisted the mentality of the guild. On the other hand, Skjor and Ayla believe that being werewolves makes them superior. They're stronger fighters and can therefore better perform their duties. To be honest, I think I lean more towards Kodlak's perspective. What would Ysgramor say if he knew of the Inner Circle's current state? Do you think the Nordiest of all Nords would appreciate Hircine's blessing, barring entry from Sovngarde, Skyrim's Valhalla, or do you think he'd be fine with it, seeing as how most foes fall rather easily to our fighters in werewolf form? Or do you think he just wouldn't care? It's a tough call, but given how much influence he had over the Companion's inception, I'm betting he'd feel strongly about their acceptance into Sovngarde. So in the end, while this is only 6 quests long, I feel like the story that Bethesda tried to convey was done rather well. In 6 quests, they introduced me to the faction, its leader, and its trainees. They revealed the Inner Circle's darkest secret and the division that comes with it. The Silver Hand plays their role, Kodlak is murdered before he can receive his cure, and the final quest has the remaining circle seeking a cleanse for the Harbinger. While it's done pretty well, it by no means is perfect. As stated before, I would have liked a little more dialogue for Purity of Revenge. It would have been nice to see more named NPCs for the Silver Hand, and even a quest where the player gets trapped by them and has to find their way out. The final boss, Kodlak's Spirit Wolf, was way too easy of a foe. A stronger opponent would have gone a longer way for me. Then finally, instead of 13 Radiant missions, I would have preferred at least 3 more story-driven quests. Like I said, maybe a little more with the Silver Hand, possibly something with the other whelps of the faction, or really anything else at all. I would have liked to have seen just a little bit more from the Companions. Not necessarily to wrap up Kodlak's story, but just for further immersion and gameplay. To me, I still don't feel like a companion, and I most certainly don't feel like the Harbinger. Through the quest, my character got to connect with other NPCs and share in their story. However, in terms of a questline for the faction itself, and becoming a member who's earned their stripes, I don't quite feel like I got there. With that, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below on the companion story. Members, thank you so much for your support. If you enjoyed this series, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, keep on adventuring.